GW, the internet wasn't ready. Not even close. 1 minute everything was normal, and the next, a single leaked file detonated across timelines like a digital earthquake. Notifications screamed. Group chats froze mid-sentence. Because suddenly, the name Erika Kirk wasn't just trending, it was being dissected, exposed, and torn open in real time. What people thought was another messy controversy instantly transformed into something far darker, far more calculated, and honestly terrifying. Because this time, the leak didn't show bad messages or awkward footage. It showed training. Real training. Emotional drills. Scripted breakdowns. Controlled tears. A younger Erika sitting under harsh lights, being told exactly how to cry, when to pause, how to look innocent without actually feeling it. And then came the line that made everyone's stomach drop, again. That reaction needs to look more natural. Within minutes, social media erupted into full-scale chaos. Twitter threads exploded. TikTok stitched itself into a frenzy. Fans who defended her for years suddenly went silent, replaying old interviews with brand new eyes. Because buried in the leak was something no one expected, a bizarre, hidden Disney-linked behavioral program that wasn't about acting for movies, but about shaping personalities. Training people to switch emotions like outfits. And Erika. According to the documents, she wasn't just enrolled. She was exceptional. And just when viewers thought it couldn't get more disturbing, a final clip surfaced. Erika looks straight into the camera, eyes shaking, voice small, almost childlike, and whispers, "Why does this feel wrong?" The footage cuts. No explanation. No context. Just silence. And that's when the question hit like a punch to the chest. If this was training, what was she being trained for? The first document didn't look dangerous. No watermark. No logo. Just a bland file name and a timestamp that shouldn't have existed. But the moment people opened it, the entire Erika Kirk narrative began to rot from the inside out. Screens filled with rehearsal logs, emotional metrics, instructor notes written with cold precision. Not fan fiction. Not rumor. Structured assessments. One line spread faster than anything else. Subject demonstrates advanced emotional compliance. Compliance. That word alone flipped the tone from gossip to horror. Suddenly, people weren't watching a scandal unfold. They were watching a system expose itself. Then the footage started circulating. Short clips at first, barely 10 seconds each. A teenage Erika sitting upright, hands folded, eyes locked forward like she was waiting for instructions instead of guidance. A voice off camera told her to simulate panic. Not feel it. Simulate it. Her breathing changed instantly. Pupils widened. Voice trembled on cue. The instructor interrupted. Too fast. Reset. Erika went blank. Completely empty. Then tried again. Social media didn't scream yet. It went quiet. Because that blank reset. Fans had seen it before. In interviews. In apologies. In moments that were supposed to be real. The Disney connection didn't drop loudly. It leaked sideways. Metadata buried in the video files listed a defunct internal division tied to youth behavioral development. Not casting. Not production. Behavioral. That word hit like ice water. People dug. Old articles. Archived pages. Scrubbed websites. A program that quietly shut down years ago, surrounded by rumors of persona training and emotional modeling. Suddenly, Erika's file number meant something. She wasn't just enrolled. She was categorized. Labeled. Optimized. One assessment note went viral overnight. Excellent for controlled emotional projection in high-pressure public environments. The internet snapped. Comment sections split into factions instantly. Some called it fake. Others called it proof. Former fans replayed every emotional moment she'd ever had, slowing them down, zooming in, comparing micro-expressions to the training footage. The similarities were impossible to unsee. Same pauses. Same breath catch. Same subtle head tilt before tears. TikTok creators lined clips side by side, whispering, "That's not emotion. That's execution." Hashtags exploded. Erika Kirk exposed. Disney pipeline. Persona training. And then the defenders went silent, because a new clip surfaced that broke something deeper. This one wasn't polished. It wasn't meant to be seen. Erika sat slouched in a folding chair, hair pulled back, face bare. She looked tired. Younger. Human. The instructor asked her to repeat a sentence while crying. She tried. Her voice cracked for real this time. She stopped midline and whispered, almost embarrassed, "Why does this feel wrong?" There was a pause. A hand entered the frame, firm on her shoulder, guiding her back into position. Again, the voice said calmly. The clip cut. People didn't argue anymore. They felt sick. Anonymous posts began flooding forums within hours. A former classmate claimed Erika spoke like she was practicing being someone. Another said she never reacted instinctively, always a half-second delayed, like she was choosing from options. A supposed ex-coach dropped a bomb. She was never trained to express. She was trained to adjust. That distinction mattered. Adjust to who? To what? The leaked curriculum answered without mercy. Conflict response drills. Sincerity modulation. Persona mirroring. Emotional containment. None of it sounded like acting school. It sounded like preparation. The first meltdown came from a fan account that had defended Erika for years. They posted a 30-tweet thread ending with, "I don't think she's lying. I think she was built." That word spread fast. Built. Suddenly, the narrative shifted again. This wasn't a villain being exposed. This was a product malfunctioning in public. Sympathy collided with fear. If she could switch like that, was anything real? Or worse, had she never been allowed to find out? One document intensified the unease. Subject must not form fixed emotional identity during training phase. People started connecting timelines. Erika's sudden Polish. Her unnatural calm during scandals. Her ability to cry without facial distortion. Her emotional drops mid-sentence. All of it lined up with the training footage like a blueprint. Then a leaked internal message set everything on fire. She was never meant for entertainment placement. That sentence detonated across platforms. If not entertainment, then where? Why train someone like this? Why invest years in emotional engineering just to let her exist quietly until she didn't? The answer hinted itself through another assessment page labeled Future Placement Potential. Most of it was redacted, but certain phrases remained untouched. Public-facing proximity. Narrative stabilization. High adaptability to authority figures. People froze. This wasn't about fame. It was about function. Erika wasn't trained to lead attention. She was trained to manage it. To absorb pressure. To soften impact. To be near power without appearing powerful. And once that idea took hold, nothing about her adult. The moment that question surfaced, everything accelerated. Screenshots multiplied. Amateur investigators went sleepless. Because the next wave of leaks didn't come from fan accounts or drama channels. It came from someone who knew how these systems worked. An anonymous drop titled simply "Placement Logs" appeared, and within minutes it was mirrored everywhere. Most of the names were blurred. Dates partially obscured. But the structure was unmistakable. Columns labeled compatibility index, emotional synergy, narrative buffering capacity. People realized this wasn't about a single person. It was a roster. And Erika's identifier appeared again and again, flagged, starred, annotated. One note went viral immediately. Subject demonstrates unusually high alignment success probability when paired with dominant public-facing personalities. That phrase detonated across social media. Dominant public-facing personalities. Suddenly, the internet wasn't just looking at Erika. They were looking at everyone around her. Every relationship. Every proximity to influence. Every moment she stood just slightly behind someone in the spotlight, smiling softly, absorbing heat while they stayed composed. Old footage resurfaced of her deflecting questions with emotion instead of answers. At the time it looked like vulnerability. Now it looked like strategy. Or worse, instinct. A survival reflex drilled into her long before she could consent. Then the audio leak dropped. Not dramatic. Not edited. Just a raw voice note from a former behavioral consultant, distorted but chillingly clear. Some candidates were trained for adjacency. They weren't meant to shine. They were meant to stabilize the shine. That sentence spread faster than any clip. Because it reframed everything. Erika wasn't failing to be authentic. She was succeeding at a role no one knew existed. And the scariest part. The consultant added one more line before the audio cut. The best ones never realize they are doing it. That's when the comparison videos exploded. Side-by-side clips of Erika as a teenager in training and Erika years later in real-life crises. The same breathing cadence. The same half-second delay before responding. The same softened tone when pressure peaked. Even the same phrasing patterns. I just want to be clear. I'm trying to understand. This is really hard for me. Phrases that suddenly felt rehearsed, not because she was lying, but because they were drilled into her as emotional tools. TikTok creators stopped mocking and started whispering. This is conditioning. This is trauma. This is someone who never got to choose who they are. Then came the betrayal that fractured the narrative completely. A former insider, verified by multiple outlets, posted a thread that vanished within an hour, but not before screenshots flooded the internet. Erika wasn't just trained. She was evaluated against potential matches. Matches. The word alone sent shockwaves. The thread claimed that during the later phases of the program, candidates were assessed for compatibility, with emerging figures projected for future influence. Not celebrities yet. Not politicians yet. Projections. Models. Forecasts. People who would matter later. And the assessments weren't romantic. They were functional. Could she calm them? Could she soften backlash? Could she redirect narrative tension without triggering suspicion? According to the leak, Erika scored alarmingly high. The internet latched onto one redacted chart that wasn't redacted enough. 2 initials appeared under a compatibility column. Just 2 letters. And suddenly every platform froze. Because those letters matched someone whose rise to prominence aligned a little too perfectly with Erika's timeline. Search terms spiked so hard they crashed trend trackers. Was this coincidence? Or was this the moment the curtain finally fell? A former assistant from within the same circle added fuel to the fire with a now-deleted comment. She always knew exactly when to cry. Exactly when to go quiet. It felt timed. Then came the confrontation clip. A private argument, leaked without context, recorded years after the training supposedly ended. In it, Erika's voice wavered, cracked, then flattened unnaturally fast. She blinked twice. Paused. Reset. Viewers recognized it instantly. The reset they'd seen in the drills. The emotional reboot. Comment sections filled with the same sentence over and over, she's switching modes. And then something even darker emerged. In the clip, after the reset, her tone softened, her posture shifted, and she began reassuring the other person instead of defending herself. De-escalation. Narrative stabilization. Exactly as described in the training manuals. At this point, the internet split again. One side felt rage. This is manipulation. She's dangerous. The other felt grief. She was programmed. She never had a chance. Former Disney-affiliated figures began posting cryptic messages, not naming names but confirming patterns. Some programs weren't about talent. They were about control. We were told it was development. We didn't know what we were becoming. One post simply read, "If you see the blank look, that's dissociation, not acting." That line hit harder than any leak. Then the placement document resurfaced in full. This time clearer. A table titled, Integration Readiness. Erika's identifier marked complete. Notes praised her ability to blend seamlessly, to mirror emotional tone, to absorb external pressure without destabilizing the primary subject. Primary subject. Not a partner. Not equal. Subject. People felt physically ill reading it. Because buried at the bottom was a recommendation stamped approved. Proceed with real-world integration when subject enters visibility phase. And next to it, a warning, do not inform the candidate of the assignment. Awareness may disrupt authenticity. That's when the narrative collapsed entirely. Erika wasn't a mastermind. She wasn't even fully aware. According to the leaks, the success of the program depended on the subject believing the emotions were real. That the attachment was organic. That the loyalty was personal. Because once awareness entered, the persona fractured. Fans re-watched old clips of her crying, not with suspicion now, but with horror. Because what if she wasn't faking? What if she was trapped in a role she was taught to believe was her identity? The social media chaos reached a breaking point when a former industry psychologist went live anonymously. Voice altered. Face hidden. Some of them never recover, they said. They build their entire sense of self around support. Around reflection. When the relationship ends, they don't know who they are. The chat exploded. Identity disorientation. That phrase resurfaced from the training files. Suddenly, Erika's moments of emotional collapse weren't scandals. They were symptoms. And people began asking a question no one wanted to ask before. What happens if the placement fails? The final leak of the night answered that question in the most chilling way possible. A memo labeled, Risk Mitigation. It warned that separation from the assigned figure could trigger severe destabilization. It recommended discouraging independence, encouraging attachment, maintaining proximity. And then the line that made everyone shut their laptops in disbelief. Subject loyalty must appear emotional, not engineered. That was the moment the internet realized this wasn't just about Erika's past. It was about her present. And possibly her future. Because as the night ended and the feeds kept refreshing, one last notification appeared. A short message from an unknown sender. Youth, Denley, Erika's past emotional spirals looked different. Not scandals. Warnings. The reaction was immediate and violent. Platforms struggled to keep up as live streams popped up everywhere. Lawyers, psychologists, former industry insiders all talking at once. Some insisted the tape was fabricated. Others said it explained too much to be fake. Former child performers posted cryptic messages within minutes. We were told it was development. Some of us were never meant to be people. One wrote simply, "If you hear the hum under the tape, you know it's real." Sympathy surged harder than ever before. Fans who once criticized Erika now defended her fiercely. She didn't manipulate anyone. She was molded. This is psychological abuse. But not everyone felt compassion. A darker narrative began spreading just as fast. If she was trained to stabilize, she's still dangerous. Conditioning doesn't disappear. What if she's still operating? That fear ignited a second wave of chaos. Clips of Erika speaking calmly during high-pressure moments resurfaced again, reframed not as strength, but as evidence of ongoing activation. Even neutral observers felt uneasy. Not because she seemed fake, but because she seemed too composed. Too adaptive. Like someone who learned long ago that survival meant never breaking in the wrong direction. Then the whistleblower returned. Same anonymous account. One final message. You're still missing the point. Erika isn't the end. She's the proof of concept. That sentence detonated a new level of panic. Because if this system existed once, it could exist again. Or worse, it never stopped. Threads popped up connecting other public figures, other partners who always seemed perfectly placed, perfectly timed. People started asking who else had been trained. Who else was buffering power without knowing it? Who else thought they chose their life when it had been nudged, shaped, guided from childhood? The media response was chaos layered on chaos. Some outlets ran with sympathy headlines. Others with fear-driven speculation. Was she engineered? Was she assigned? Is influence manufactured? Experts debated whether conditioning that deep could ever be undone. A psychologist went viral saying, "If identity is built around mirroring, separation feels like annihilation." That quote alone haunted people. Because it reframed everything. Erika wasn't clinging. She was surviving. And survival looked like loyalty, because that's what she'd been taught loyalty was. Then, in the middle of the frenzy, Erika herself went silent. No posts. No statements. No denial. No apology. That silence spoke louder than anything else. Fans begged her to respond. Critics demanded answers. But others noticed something chilling. Her silence aligned perfectly with one final note from the tape. During exposure events, subject withdrawal recommended. Minimize independent narrative. The implication was unbearable. Even now, even with the world watching, she might still be following instincts she never chose. The last twist didn't come from a leak. It came from a pattern. Users began mapping timelines, not just of Erika, but of multiple figures connected to similar pipelines. The same years. The same gaps. The same sudden polish after adolescence. The same emotional fluency under pressure. People weren't just watching a scandal anymore. They were staring at a possible architecture of influence. A quiet one. A patient one. One that didn't need control in adulthood, because it planted obedience early. By dawn, the narrative had fully inverted. Erika was no longer the mystery. She was the evidence. Evidence of a system that blurred the line between development and design. Between support and control. Between love and function. And as the sun came up, one final post began circulating everywhere, written by someone claiming to have worked adjacent to the program years ago. If this is coming out now, it's because someone inside wants it to burn. And when one file drops,